So what we're going to do here is we're going to go over how we install one of these roof vents. These are typically used for like venting of an exhaust fan coming out of a bathroom. There's some other more creative uses for these. I've seen people vent their dryer out the roof. I've also seen we use these sometimes for the hood above a stove if it's being vented outside out the roof. So we buy this at Menards, and I want this to fit down in the flat. So as we're laying the steel across the roof, we get to the sheet right before the vent comes out, and we pull measurements. And if I need to move the pipe a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right, I want it to come out exactly in the center of a flat. We flip the vent over, mark some pencil lines on it because we got to make it narrower so it fits exactly between the flats of the rib. I believe we're looking for about 7 1/4 inches is what we have in between the flats. So I'm marking in each side, about 1 inch in each side. It's a thicker metal, but it cuts just fine with a pair of snips. Take your snips, make a nice clean cut up both sides, cutting that inch off. Should leave you with 7 1/4, just a fuzz under 7 1/4 inches even. So this is showing where the vent comes out. We added wood blocking all the way around it after we decided where the center of the flat was going to be. Just kind of did a preliminary notch cut with our metal. I could always make my hole bigger once we actually get it in place, so I purposely made that hole small so I could custom cut on it and make it exactly what I want once I get the sheet installed. So with the sheet installed, now I can hold this collar piece in place, trace the circle around it. It'll be dead on in the center of that flat right where I want it. So I'll trace that with a pencil, come back in with my snips, make the cut. So now I got the perfect cutout. And right there's my vent coming from the exhaust fan that's going to be coming out the roof. Now we take the collar, and that collar's got little notches in it. The vent has a little divot in it, and that's kind of where you start the collar, and you'll just spin it in. It'll twist in like a screw, and you spin that collar into place. And so the collar's now locked into the vent. I don't tack a screw or anything in it. It seems to hold on pretty good. Next thing we do is we attach the vent from in the attic space to that collar. That I will tack a screw or two on there. I mean, in a perfect world, we'd use a little smaller screw, like a little gutter screw or something. But I always just have 1.5 inch steel screws on me, and that's typically what gets used. So I stuck a 1.5 inch steel screw on each side to hold that on there. Sometimes we'll get crazy and put some duct tape on there if you want, but this one here was a pretty tight fit getting that on, so we just tacked 2 screws in it and called it good. Set the vent down in place, just kind of like we do with a pipe boot around a vent pipe. We're going to trace the footprint of the vent. We're going to trace around it with our pencil so we can then pull it up and put some sealant down underneath. Put a good thick bead of sealant all the way around the hole. Put a good thick bead down the edges, thick bead across the bottom, because I don't want any wind, snow, and rain driving up under that front edge. So we go ahead and use sealant all the way around underneath this. So then we put the vent down in place. I tack 2 screws, there's those holes in the vent, so I just kind of use those holes that were already there, tack 2 screws in. Now we need to address the back side of it. This is up on the top side of the roof, so it's really close to the ridge. So this one's a little different than if we were in the center of the roof. It would be a fuzz different, but this is how we're going to do this one up close to the ridge. We got a cutoff of metal and kind of cut some angles on here. You'll see when we get her cut and we put it in place, kind of how this goes. There it is, installed above the vent. Again, putting some sealant in there. You don't got to get super crazy on the sealant, but you know, on the back side of the vent, get her sealed up good. Put that piece of metal in there, run some screws in it. I got 2 screws tacked on the back side, you know, right above the vent. You don't want those super close to the bottom edge, you know, because, you know, if you do get any water and ice climbing up under there, you know, I mean, you want those screws probably a good 3 inches up from the bottom edge. And again, we know that we've got wood blocking all the way around this vent, and put those screws in just in case you miss wood. You're just locking metal to metal. You don't want to over tighten anything. We maybe then I went down the sides of the vent, put an extra bead of sealant down those edges. If this were in the middle of the roof, I would have probably notched, when we did that top metal piece, I would have probably cut a notch in there and brought that metal all the way down to the bottom edge of the vent. I would have probably notched out a square for the vent, brought that metal all the way down to the bottom edge of the vent, again sealed under it. Again, I would have anticipated that. I would have had extra wood blocking underneath to catch the screw, and that's what we would have done if it was in the middle of a roof. But that's the basics to get you through a bathroom vent fan installation.